So answer me this. Do you think it's a good idea when toy companies bring in other gimmicks from other toy lines in an effort to boost sales or broaden appeal?
Not always.
No, it doesn't always work, does it?
No.
Well, we're going to see if it worked in this particular instance. What we're looking at today is these Rogue One vehicles. Hi guys, I'm Jonah.
I'm Dash.
And welcome to a new installment of Toys for All Ages. As I mentioned, we're looking at a couple of vehicles from the Rogue One series, the U-Wing and the TIE Striker. Now, when we first decided that we wanted to collect Star Wars toys, were these even on your radar or something that you wanted to pick up?
I've never seen these before. No, I don't.
Right? They weren't even on my radar at all. I remember seeing them in the stores, and the first thing that jumped out at me was the Nerf gimmick, and that was an immediate turnoff to me as an adult collector. I didn't like that idea at all. What are your thoughts on just not thinking about having handled these toys already? When you hear this is a vehicle that shoots Nerf darts, what's your thought on that? Is that something that appeals to you as a kid?
Not really, because that makes it's more like not like most kids want spaceships because they're spaceships, not because they're Nerf guns.
Right. No, I get that. I totally get that. Nerf guns are awesome in their own right.
Yes.
Star Wars toys are awesome in their own right.
Mm-hmm.
They don't necessarily need to be mixed, in my opinion. So again, seeing that in the stores, completely turned off by it, for lack of a better term, and had forgotten all about them. Now, it wasn't until we started making a list of Star Wars toys that I wanted to collect, and that list included a lot of the things from when I was a child, like the TIE Interceptor, the Millennium Falcon. You know, some of those I didn't even have as a kid, but knew that I wanted them in my collection. What about you? What was the top ones on your list that you had to have?
Probably the that chip we have, the bomber in Clone Wars.
Okay, all right, yep. So what we're looking at here, again, didn't even hit the radar until I started going further down this list and seeing what I wanted to add to the collection and looking up reviews online. And the part of the appeal to me picking these up was the reviews were not good. And I think a lot of it had to do with that Nerf gimmick. And so I wanted to find out if it was really as bad as the people online were saying. So I went ahead and picked up these two. There is an A-Wing out there as well that has a similar feature. Now, I haven't gotten the A-Wing. I don't have any plans on getting the A-Wing. We've got like 3 A-Wings as it is. I don't think we need any more A-Wings. What about you?
Yeah. Also, when we saw that there was a Nerf gimmick, we thought the Nerf gun would be really big on it. We didn't think it would look like a Star Wars spaceship at all. Yeah,
and in fact, a lot of the reviews, that's what they were talking about, was how bulbous this Nerf feature was, that it took away from the overall aesthetic of the toy.
Yes.
So when I'm looking at them on pictures of them online, I'm not necessarily seeing that. It wasn't jumping out at me. And so I really wanted to see it for myself. Now, the TIE Striker we picked up first. And I picked this up at Jay's CD and Hobby back on your birthday.
Yes.
And they had a couple of them in stock. This was a boxed one. It wasn't terribly expensive, which is an appeal to these toys. They're not expensive toys, unlike some of the other older Star Wars vehicles out there that you may find. And right away, the box art I thought was cool. The images jumped out at me. I couldn't wait to get home and tear it open. I've always loved the TIE Striker or the TIE Fighter design. You know, you've got the bubble canopy, you've got the vertical the vertical solar solar panels for the for lack of a better term, wings. And the TIE Striker was unique in that, one, you still have the same basic design from the front, but the wings are horizontal and not vertical. And this was a vehicle that I believe was designed to operate not only in space, but also within a planet's atmosphere. And there was sort of a unique feature. If you push down on that lever, it'll actually drop those wings down a little bit. It gives you kind of a different angle of play.
Most spaceships come with like a thing when they turn into fighter position.
Mm-hmm. Now, the canopy itself is large, or the fuselage is large, but you still really only have room for one figure in there. And he fits in there really nicely.
Let's get a close-up of it.
Sure.
You see that?
Now let's talk about the selling point behind this toy. And I think that these toys in general were directed towards a younger audience, more so for children than adults. And that was including this Nerf gun feature. Hasbro has the licensing rights for the Star Wars toys themselves. They've had it for years since they acquired Kenner. And they also own Nerf or licensed Nerf. I think they probably own it.
I think we should fire it.
But Yeah, and we certainly will. But let's talk about that feature before we fire it. What are your thoughts on the Nerf gun? Because, again, the way the reviews were sounding, they make it sound like it's going to take up a lot of space, right?
It doesn't at all.
Doesn't. It adds maybe a half an inch to the overall, width or height of the toy.
Also, they decorate it so much that if you just take the Nerf dart out, it will look like totally normal.
Yeah, it does look. It looks like a relatively good integration into the toy itself. Now, one thing I will say, full disclosure, it did come with two basically pylons on the solar panels where you could store extra Nerf darts. I wasn't planning on using that for storage or anything like that, so I actually just used a little screwdriver and took them off completely. And I think that does a lot towards improving the overall aesthetic of the toy.
How big were they?
They were roughly the same size as what you're going to see on the bottom of the Ewing, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. So yeah, overall, the Nerf feature doesn't bother me at all. In fact, you wanted to fire, go ahead and fire it.
I'm going to stand right behind the camera.
Yeah, right here. Oh, you missed. You're a terrible shot.
For you.
I really like the way that the Nerf feature works. And it's a lot of fun, actually, to, set up a couple of guys and have this thing, take them out. Let's talk about the Ewing. And we'll kind of give our last thoughts on all of this.
It has this little button you can pull down, and it will activate the wings into fighter position, whatever position you want. There's 4 giant motors. I meant
engines.
Engines. Are they all hyperdrive?
It does have hyperdrive capabilities.
Okay. Also, let's get a little into the cockpit, because
now the one thing I don't like about the cockpit,
it's small.
Well, not only that it's small. Well, yes, it is small. But you've got this hair tie / rubber band seatbelt. I don't know what the point of having that there is. I don't think that's necessary. One thing I will say about this vehicle is when you see this in the movie, these things are big. And in fact, this is more of a transport than it is even a fighter, in my opinion.
Yeah. Because
this whole area here, that's a cargo area for guys to be transported in. There's a door gunner, actually, that can stand there, as we see in the movie. And the cockpit itself in the movie, or in the vehicle, is a big cockpit that holds 2 guys side by side. And so, as a kid, I don't know, do you remember that from the movie? I know it's been a little bit of time since you've seen it. Do you remember this vehicle in the movie?
No, I don't.
No? Okay. So, yeah, the cockpit holds them side by side, and you've got this big cargo bay down here. So this thing, first and foremost, is really underscaled. If you are expecting to get the same vehicle that you see in the movie, you're not going to get that at all.
Also, I would have problems if it was a lot bigger, because you see how thin these wings are now? If it was as big as he's talking about, the wings would be really thick.
I agree. If they were to ever do an upscaled version of this, which I would be all for, I would love a more properly scaled version of this vehicle in maybe the collector's line or something like that. But yeah, it is going to be much sturdier. The wings are going to have to be, because these wings are really flimsy, right? Look at this. I mean, that is one of the downsides of this toy, is that it does have really flimsy wings. Now, when you're playing with it, that's not really a problem. I mean, it doesn't bother me at all when I'm playing with it. I really like the feature, or the way that the wings move. There's a lever here that moves those wings. So, when this thing's about to take off, or it's going into hyperdrive, the wings are going to be forward like this. When it's in combat, the wings are back like this. And I think it looks pretty slick. It does give it a really
big.
It does give it a really wide wingspan compared to really anything else in the Star Wars universe.
What type of wing is this? Like, what's it called?
Well, it's an S-foil. I mean, they're not called wings per se. They're called S-foils.
If you pull them down like this, it looks like an A, doesn't it?
Yeah, I could see that. I think it probably gets the name U-wing from when the wings are affixed in the front, what that looks like.
Or you just do this. It's the Y.
There you go.
U-wing. Oh,
well, and Y-wing and A-wing were already taken at this point, so they had to go to something else in the alphabet.
Let's see the Nerf gun.
Yeah, let's talk about the Nerf feature on this one. And again, you expect the Nerf feature is going to be bulbous. It's going to be a big protrusion, or it's going to get in your way when you're playing with the toys. But it doesn't. Let me look. You can't even see it.
You can't
even see
down.
it. Yeah, and then when you push this button on the top, it'll actually pop popped out or popped out.
It's not even that big either.
No, it's really not, and it's going to work basically the same way as it does on the TIE Striker, where you're going to push that in, and then to fire it again, you're just going to push that button on the top.
Also, the thing I really love about Star Wars Nerf guns that are on ships, or there's one on your wrist that you can get today, is that there's no loading thing. It's just pushing down on the barrel, so it still looks normal even though it's cocked. Like, let me get a Nerf gun. Oh yeah, sorry. It's never mind. It was somewhere.
No, I know what you're talking about. You've got basically, like with the pistols, you'll have that thing on the back you got to pull, and then it sticks out, right?
Yeah.
Is what you're talking about. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. So no, this one does a really good job of fitting into being integrated into the toy itself. And it's been a lot of fun to, have the AT-AT sitting on the floor there and use this to dive bomb it and hit it with Nerf darts. And again, when you're done or when you don't want to display it, just push it back up there and it's gone. It does have these 2 rings underneath near the engines where you would store extra Nerf darts. And again, I wasn't planning on storing extra Nerf darts with it. And so the one thing is, you can't take these off like you can on the TIE Striker, but it doesn't bother me. It's not a deterrence by any means. I think the biggest thing about this vehicle is just it's underscaled. Other than that, it's still a lot of fun to play with. What are your thoughts on the 2 vehicles together as a whole? Closing thoughts.
I think I really like them, and if you just get these 2 ships, you will have so much fun because of how similar they are. They're very similar, and I like that a lot because, like, you don't want very different ships on different sides because it kind of felt even stuff.
Oh, you think the 2 in pitched combat's going to be a relatively even battle? I see what you're saying. That makes sense. Yeah, I think overall, I didn't have a lot of faith that I was going to enjoy these. My hopes weren't very high, and the fact that I really enjoyed them a lot more than I was expecting was a pleasant surprise. And so I definitely recommend it, especially kids, adults. I think they're going to find enjoyment in these toys. They're well done. The detailing on them is nice. The paint applications are good. And the Nerf feature, I actually think is fun. And it's not a hindrance like I was expecting.
Well, I think that's it for Toys for All Ages.
That's it for, this episode anyway. Not forever.
Yeah. This has been...
We got some big things planned.
And yeah.
But yeah, that's it for this. Go out and pick these up. They're not expensive. You can get them relatively cheaply. Like I said, I picked up this one at JCD and Hobby. I believe the West Des Moines location still has one of these in the box on the shelf that you can pick up. This one I had to get on eBay, but it came with like 3 extra dudes, and the shipping was low, and the price is decent for what you're getting, in my opinion. So go pick them up. You won't regret it. You'll enjoy them, and we'll talk to you guys next time.